Right now, you guys, thousands of Americans, including veterans, federal workers, families, even travelers overseas, people traveling, if you travel a lot, are about to lose access to, basic government services, not because of disaster, but because of a handful of politicians can't agree on a budget. And if that doesn't scare you, you guys, it should at least wake you up. Now, I'm not here to give you a political lecture. I'm just here to make something very clear. Your life, your income, your mobility, your benefits are tied to a system or may be tied to a system that can shut off overnight. And here's what this shutdown is already affecting. Number one, military families, federal workers, from paychecks delayed, base support services paused. And in regards to base support services pause, you guys, I receive updates from like a military source, right? About, different things that are being updated, different things that are happening, transitions, changes, all of those things, type of stuff in regards to the military. A lot of people don't know this. I don't share this much, but I, served in the United States Air Force as a reservist as well for some time. So I stay up to date with stuff like that. Not sure how long I will stay up to date with things like that, but services, are being paused. And that's a huge thing and is very unfortunate for military personnel, like people who are out there serving or in the field or, their families. They're not all services are being shut off, right? Not all services are being ended and paused, but a lot of them are, right? And I was really surprised to see the list of the services that are being paused. And it's very unfortunate for people who are serving the country, right? And their families. Like it just shows you how America is going downhill. The United States of America, how it's going downhill, how it treats its people, right? Their people, and the type of nation that they are becoming. Like, if you look around, there are other nations, other countries, like, for example, I'm in this region, Southeast Asia, currently in Thailand, and the government implements systems that actually makes sense for everyone. Everybody, okay? Not just the upper class, the super rich, but for everyone. But America is becoming a place that is so segregated and it's such a corporation type of structure. It's not necessarily for its people, unfortunately. And um some of you guys may be watching this like, yeah, listen, it took me a while to really say what's on my chest. Also, the fact that I was somebody who I raised my hand to say yes, if you know what I mean. But I wanted to love the country. I wanted to love America. I grew up in the Caribbean, went to the America or migrated to America as a young adult teenager. And I had certain expectations, not significantly high. I was okay, back in the Caribbean. I was fine. Was not sure what to expect. I had a complete culture shock when I moved to the US, to be honest. I mean, it was kind of cold when I got there in April. That was chilly to me. New Jersey, April, coming from the, tropical island, right? And so that was a culture shock being in the house. People don't talk to people. The culture was just very different, and I was very sad a lot of the times, most of the times, after moving, to the US. So I knew eventually it was not going to be home always, but I wanted to do things that was greater than myself and challenge myself and be a part of something greater. And that's one of the reasons why I, raise my hand and say yes. And I'm grateful, incredibly grateful for the opportunity. I'm grateful that I had the opportunity and the privilege to do that, and the people that I've come across, the people that I've met, the things that I was able to learn that um, only if you are technically, in the military doing certain things that you will know. And so it's an honor to serve, to be quite honest. Absolutely an honor. And I don't speak negatively against that in any way, shape, or form. So just wanted to throw that out there. So it took me a while to really figure out how to share my thoughts about my disappointment with the US and combine all of that together, like sharing my gratitude, right? Or expressing my gratitude for the service, but at the same time express my disappointment. This is something that I could not necessarily speak on while serving is what I'm assuming, not something something that I think would have been a good idea, right? And so now that technically I'm like no longer serving, I can speak a little bit more on this topic, right? Like really share what's on my heart. But I really wanted to love the US, but you guys, I don't know what it is like America is literally under attack and it's literally falling. It's literally falling. I'm gonna get further into the video in just a second, but I'm just really speaking what's on my heart right now. I kind of have an outline somewhat prepared because I know I can get off topic and this is very off topic, but America is falling. Okay, the United States of America is falling, and if you have the opportunity, if you have the means to, leave and build a life somewhere else, at least temporarily, please do that. Or figure out how to do that. It may not seem like or look like you can right now, but I'm telling you, it is so possible if it is something that you really, really want. So I wanted to make that point really quickly. But let's move on, okay? Passports and visas, renewals and processing are slow or slowing down or stopping. You have TSA and airport staff, thousands furloughed, longer lines, travel delays. You guys, outside of the military, I feel like I've done 1,000 things in my life, but I was also a flight attendant, right, for a mainline airline. I guess I can say it now, right? So I was a mainline airline with Delta Airlines, and Delta is a phenomenal company, incredible company. After a while, I just knew that it was time for me to let that job go. I really felt like God was calling me out of that. And so I respect the industry so much. I respect the aviation industry. It's a lot to deal with. If you have families, you're dealing with people, you're dealing with travel delays, you're dealing with reroutes, you're dealing with IROPS, right? Irregular operations, whichever. You're dealing with a lot of things. And so right now, it pains me to see like what my aviation family are going through right now, right? From the TSA agents, the gate agents, the pilots, the flight attendants, everybody that make up the aviation industry. There's so much that is going on. And I'm actually really happy at this point of my life that I made the decision to walk away from that because I can't imagine the level of stress that I would be under, having plans and things getting delayed and just all of those things. And in history, I mean, when was the last time we've seen so many aviation incidents happen in such a short period of time? Like, what is happening? You know? So it's just a lot that's happening within the US. So we talk from the politics, right? You look at like the inflation, right? It doesn't make sense. Like cost of living doesn't necessarily make sense, right? It does not make sense anymore. You look at like the healthcare, right? The cost of the healthcare. And then you look at the quality of healthcare. And then the education system is so backwards. So backwards. Children are moving up, going to different grades and aren't reading. They're not at the grade level, but they're still moving them on because no child gets left behind. That's not a thing in like the Caribbean, right? That's not a thing. If you are not at the grade level, you're going to be repeated. You're going backwards. Okay. You're staying in your class. And I think it does such a disservice to the children, to students, because now they're going to another grade and they're not at the level of the other children. And now they feel small, right? They feel beneath the other students. It does them such a great disservice, is what I should say. Okay. And it's just a lot. Just I can go on and on and on and on and on, but I don't really have the time, you know, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to leave too, because we know we wanted to, have a family. And the US just was becoming a place that is no longer family centered. They don't necessarily value family anymore, the culture. I mean, children aren't being respected. Just a lot, guys, a lot. just everything about being in the US was just becoming unbearable to us, and that's one of the reasons why we decided to leave, right? This video is not necessarily about that, or maybe it might be, I don't know, but that's one of the reasons why we decided to leave, okay? All right, so let's talk about State Department workers, okay? They're reducing staffing, impacting Americans abroad as well. So I'm not saying that things that happen in the US don't necessarily affect us while living abroad. Certain things absolutely can affect us and can affect you if you decide to move abroad. But what I'm here to encourage you to do is figure out how you can have more mobility, right? Figure out how you can set up your life so that you're not like bound to like one type of system, one income, one anything. Okay. All right. Federal loans and grants. That's being delayed, that's being frozen. Customer service hotlines, IRS, USCIS, Social Security, it's limited or it's being shut down. And here's what most people don't realize. Benefits are not necessarily guaranteed, right? Some benefits, they're funded. And when funding pauses, that access disappears. Now, I shared earlier that this is not something that I share a lot, that I served in the United States Air Force as a reservist who went active duty seasonally. While I was serving as well, I was also building businesses on the side, doing other things, maybe working in corporate as well, because the military because the military, taught me some discipline as well. I had somewhat some discipline prior to the military, but it also showed me that discipline does not necessarily protect your paycheck, right? Or just working hard does not protect your paycheck. This is more going off on another realm of things, but that's why I am so passionate about creating income streams that aligns with your life, that aligns with your goals, your family goals, your personal life goals, that aligns, right? Because you can work hard all day, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee you success, right? When people talk to me about like security or stability or waiting it out, I really think, because I've seen firsthand that systems don't necessarily collapse loudly, they fade quietly while people assume someone else is handling it. Okay, so we're thinking that it's being handled, it's going to fix itself, it's going to correct itself. I don't know, you guys. I think we are far past like repairable. I think we're far past coming back. Yeah, yeah, it's getting really, really, really bad. And so this is not a Republican versus Democrat conversation at all, okay? It's a self-reliance versus dependence conversation, right? So whether you're active duty, you're a spouse, you're a mom, a civilian, a business owner, you cannot outsource your safety. You cannot outsource your income or your future to any government, okay? Not in 2025, not anymore. All right. And so let me just share a little bit why people are leaving and why you probably should consider leaving as well, and even why our family decided to like live abroad, right? And so to be honest, you guys, there has never been a time in modern history where so many Americans are actively planning to leave the country, as far as research, right? And it's not just politics. It's not just politics, you guys. It's quality of life, cost of living, safety, education, healthcare, culture, and peace of mind, and even beyond that. Okay. And I get it. Trust me, I get it because I left, right? When I'm going to share when I knew it was time to go, you guys. I knew it was time to go, I think a long time ago, right? But in 2022, when my husband and I, we first visited Southeast Asia for the very first time. We traveled to Bali, Indonesia, then we traveled to Bangkok, Thailand. We spent like a long layover or some layover in like Japan. And that was a nice like touch of, what Japan, yeah, kind of feel of what Japan was like. But anyway, while in Bali, Indonesia, I realized very quickly that I could actually live there in Bali. And so, yeah, that seed was planted, I think, at that time, like, "Oh, wow, like, this feels more like home, it feels more like it," right? And so but we completely forgot about it, we did not really plan on living abroad or anything like that. We got pregnant in 2023, had our baby in 2020, well, yeah, had our baby in 2023, and so, moving abroad was not really something that we were thinking heavily about until the following year. Everything was just crumbling. Everything was just like I just felt this overwhelming feeling like it was time to random acts of violence in, like, even the schools. I'm like, "There's no way I can send my child or my children in these schools, in these public schools." Doesn't matter if you're private schooling. Doesn't matter if you're at the mall. Doesn't matter if you're at a restaurant, somebody could be having a bad day and just pop off, you know? And it was just a lot of different things. The cost of living did not make any sense anymore. Just the culture was very just like the culture was just not very warm. I'm just not used to that, right? It's a lot of cold shoulder, you know, the tensions, right? A lot of tensions from politics, racial tensions, just a lot of things. And so we just wanted a better quality of life. And so we knew that, okay, this is something that we wanted to do. And you guys, when I tell you I had a dream that summer, it was so urgent and it was so explicit, it was so clear, and I remember that dream to today. I actually shared that dream last year, I think in like August or September, and I kid you not, 2 weeks after that, that dream, right when we were getting ready to leave, that was over the summer, like in August, I had a dream about like this invasion, right? Like either military personnel or they were like gang members, whoever they were. It was almost like they were supposed to be military personnel, but they were just like the intentions weren't pure. The way they were dressed, it was just a little bit more formal in a sense. It's hard to explain, but all I know is that the intentions were not pure. They had weapons and they were busting through doors, you guys. And somebody was in the dream was like, grab your passport, grab an overnight bag. And I'm like, where are we going? Where are we going? And the person in the dream, I think it was my husband. You know, sometimes you dream things and it's like you can't really make the person out, like you can't really make out their face as clear as possible, but you kind of know who the person is. And so I think it was my husband. Strangely, our baby was not in that dream for some reason. And he was like, we have to go now. And I was like, where? Where are we going? And he said, where are we going? A country, right? And I was like, where? You have to make it very clear so that I can hear you well, so that I know, you know, where we're going. And then he repeated it and we busted through that door, you guys, with our bags and passport and whatnot. Once we busted through that door, the people started busting in through the back door or something like that. It was just the strangest thing. And then it was like we ended up in this market, like hiding, like they were looking for us. It was just the strangest thing. I don't even know why I dreamt that dream. But during that time, you guys, I had this urgency that it was time to leave the US, to be quite frank with you. And like my spirit would not rest, you guys, until we left. Okay. And so within like 30 days, I think we really decided that we were going to leave around maybe like May or June-ish, maybe like May. Something crazy like that, you guys. And then in like 30, 60 days, we had everything sold. We were ready to go. You know, everything was in process, visas, and we were out of there. I was so laser focused. We were so laser focused about leaving. There was no distractions during that time. Absolutely nothing could have deterred me unless God was like, okay, you're not going. But outside of that, we were laser focused and we made it happen. And so I wanted to share that with you as well, to share that, you know, moving abroad is a huge thing. It's a big move. It's a big transition. Lots of decisions to make, things to consider, especially when you have a family. But it is so possible. It is so doable. And when you become laser focused, you can do it in record breaking time. Okay. And make sure that you're doing your research and doing your planning and all those things. Not only the dream triggered my urgency as well, but also like the recent like shootings and stuff like that. We were living in Texas and there was a shooting like at a mall in Texas. And I'm like, we're not too far from the mall. We could have been at that mall. Just all of those things that anytime I'm at a mall in the US, you guys, I'm always looking over my shoulder. Like I'm always looking, making sure that I know where the closest exits are. You know, I'm always doing that when I'm at a movie theater. I'm looking at where the closest exits are. If someone were to coming here, what direction am I going? What am I going to do first? Where am I heading first? Every time I go somewhere, I'm always thinking that. But that only happens in the US, you guys. I don't think like that over here. Okay. I'm not saying that things like that can never happen, but people they don't really use weapons over here, you guys, to be quite frank with you. You don't really hear about those random acts of violence here. Okay. In Thailand, in Bali, Indonesia, in Malaysia. You know, you don't hear about those things. In the US, it's like every other day. Like, how many shootings can you have in 1 year? Like, how many can you have? Whether it's a school event, whether it's happening at a mall, a plaza, a random restaurant, like just on the streets. Like, how many of that can you have in a year? You don't really hear about that kind of thing here. And so that's why I feel more centered and more at ease and more at peace here because I don't have, and you guys, we don't live in violent neighborhoods, we've always lived in like, I guess I would call it decent areas where it's not like, I guess the hood, right? We never lived in the hood, but I remember living in somewhere in Dallas when we were living in Dallas. And you guys, I kid you not, I could not believe that would hear gunshots. I was like, I thought this was a nice area. What in the world? Right? Gunshots, you guys. My husband and I were on the floor, and this would happen a couple nights, right? And it was gunshots. It was not anything else. It was gunshots. Okay. All right. And I'm just like, what in the world? This video is getting way longer than I expected it was going to be. But you guys, I'm sharing what's on my chest, what's on my heart today. Okay. Plus, I haven't done a video in a while. So you're getting it all today. Okay. And I've spoken to people too. I know people who are from like Atlanta or live in Atlanta, and they share their stories with living in Atlanta, how dangerous Atlanta is, right? I've heard a girl share a story how a guy was, I guess, catcalling her in her car and he pulled up and pointed a gun at her. Pointed pointed, you guys, so his weapon at her because she wasn't paying him any mind. This is somebody that I know personally too. She was a flight attendant. She is a flight attendant. And she shared that story on her stories and stuff. I'm like, girl, what? And this is in Atlanta, you know? And I've been in Atlanta for a while too, with being based in Atlanta as well, with being a Delta flight attendant. That's their headquarters, that's their hub, their main base. And you hear people talk about living in nice neighborhoods and still hearing gunshots pop off or gunshots outside of a mall and just crazy. Like you guys, those type of things, I promise you, they do not happen here. Okay. It's not perfect, right? Everywhere you go, you're going to experience something. It's going to be something, I'm sure. But I'm just saying that I will take these some things, right? These minor things or here and there, maybe you have a natural disaster or something like that, every now and then. But to be looking over my shoulder every second, every day, it's not cool. It's not the way to live. I don't believe that's how God wants us to live, right? And so now I feel like a more I feel like I'm living a life of it's so much easier, you guys. My life is so much easier. It flows. I feel more aligned and centered. The things that would stress me out and would that I would worry about in the US, I do not stress about those things. I literally feel like I'm living in an escape. People won't understand it. And I think most people will not understand it and will not understand that there is actually a different way to live unless they actually leave the Western hemisphere. You guys, okay? I am telling you. And I have been to dozens of countries, okay? And it's different. It's different. Life outside of the US, the United States of America, is so much better. Now, hear me out. I understand, and I know some of you guys will get on me in the comments maybe about the US currency and the US, all of those things. Like I said before, right? I'm grateful for a lot of the opportunities that I've had in the US. And yes, the US dollar does go a very far way depending on the countries that you're using it in, right? Abroad, for sure. It definitely has its benefits. However, I want more people to understand as well that you can build a global business, right? You can design a life and create income streams that is global, that you're where you're accepting money from all over the world. There are a lot of people that think that people in other countries that they don't do as well because they don't make US dollars. And I'm here to tell you that I have met well off people who live well off from their local currencies. Okay. So I think that's just also yeah, there's this just misconception that people in different countries or, these are, Thailand is a third world country, these different, countries in Asia, different parts of Asia, they're all like third world countries and stuff like that. When they are literally thriving, their people are thriving. They have state of the art technology advancing. They have systems that make sense. When I tell you systems, like almost flawless systems, very efficient, that makes sense. Oh my gosh, from like the hospitals, it's like state of the art, you guys. I can't even tell you. They are overstaffed, okay? Overstaffed at the hospitals here. Like they have people at the door just in case you have a question. Then they have like five people at the counter. Then they have this counter. Then they have the actual pharmacy counter within the hospital so that you don't have to drive 30 minutes to go to the pharmacy. You pick it up right then and there in like less than 30 minutes, right? Your prescribed medication if needed. Okay. Efficiency, you guys, and state of the art, top notch quality as well. So little things like that, but you have to see it to believe it. So I can talk all day about the different things and different things that you can experience if you go abroad somewhere, right? But you just have to really take that chance. And if you feel led to, that is, I mean, everybody may not be called to leave the US, to be quite frank, but let me just put it this way. If you've been feeling an urgency, a sense of urgency, and if you've been feeling a call, if you've been feeling pulled and compelled to leave, then I urge you to figure out how it is that you can leave. And as a matter of fact, I've been really feeling led to create some type of like a workshop, a live workshop to really help people get prepared to leave the US in an accelerated time. This may be like a 1 or 2 day type of like a workshop where we just come together virtually, and I'll have guests as well, and we'll walk you through and map out how you can make moving abroad possible for you and your family, specially designed for family, because I know that can be a little bit trickier and that requires a little bit more. And as a family, myself who moved abroad, I understand, okay, the different parts, the different moving parts, the different things that come with trying to move abroad as a family. So this is something that I've been having on my heart to do for a while now. Last year, I started something called like a Moms Moving Abroad movement, and somewhat paused on that. But you guys, the urgency, like, I wanna see more women thrive abroad, okay? I wanna see more women and families thrive and live their best lives abroad and not feel so triggered and not feel so unsafe and not feel so, so unheard, right? And so I'm really feeling compelled to put together something like a workshop. And so if you want to be a part of that, if you want to be the first to know when I'm doing that workshop, you can sign up. There will be either a wait list below if spots are full, or there will be a link to sign up for that workshop. Okay. If you are ready to move abroad, you want to map it out, plan things out, and even figure out different ways that you can earn an income abroad, or how you can transition that, or from, businesses and stuff like that, so that you can successfully transition living abroad, then definitely sign up for that workshop, especially if you want to live in Southeast Asia. Definitely one of my favorite places, I would say, thus far. So that's that. Okay, let's move on, you guys, because this video is getting really, really, really long. All right. But those are some of the things that really pushed us or pushed me to move abroad, right? And it was such a feeling that um was like something that was shifting. It was a feeling that something was shifting, was about to shift before everyone saw it, okay? And again, this was like in July-ish, August-ish. Initially, we were going to move March 2025. I cannot imagine what my life would be looking like, or how I would be feeling, or what I would be doing with myself if I was still in the US, March 2025. That was initially our date, okay? For different reasons. We're like, okay, it makes sense, for that date. And it was like, no, you have to leave before October-ish of 2024. And I was like, I don't know how in the world that's going to happen, right? We still had our cars to sell. Like I was transitioning out of the military. It was just a lot of different things. And I'm like, Lord, I do not know how. But when I tell you God literally made a way, okay? He literally made a way. We were able to sell everything. And we didn't have to dip into our savings too much to like book flights and to move or anything like that. And we had sufficient savings as well that helped us to apply for certain visas that required certain cushion, to show in your bank account that you have certain, amount of money. And everything just kind of just worked out, right? Everything worked out in our favor, and I'm so grateful to God. And so that's what I'm telling you, like, if everything aligns, if this is what God wants you to do, and if this feels like it's meant for you, it will happen and it will work itself out. I am telling you, it will work itself out. You just have to sit into it, bask into it, just believe it's going to work out, and just allow it to work out. Okay. Allow all those things to flow and allow all those things to be attracted to you. It's all energy. Like, I understand that you may be overwhelmed right now and you may feel like you need to force something and try to figure out, okay, how it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. Yes, you need to plan, but I want you to be calm about it. Don't overwhelm yourself as it's already an overwhelming process, but just know that everything is going to work out. And just especially if you believe that this is something that you want to happen, it will happen. Picture yourself in that country, whether it's Malaysia, okay? Whether it's, I don't know, Costa Rica, whether it's Mexico, wherever it is, picture yourself. What does your day to day look like when you wake up in the mornings? What are you eating? What language are you speaking or attempting to speak? How are you interacting with the locals? What are your children doing? What type of schooling are they doing? Are they being homeschooled? Are you homeschooling them? Are they going to learning co-ops and engaging with the locals? Whatever. Imagine, visualize what your life looks like. Just visualize it, close your eyes, and pretend as if it already is, and just watch it unfold. Okay? All right. So let's move on. How long have I been talking? 40 minutes, you guys. All right. So we are watching a global superpower fall behind in real time, you guys. The US is ranked below 20th in education globally. I talked about that. And that's one of the reasons why when I was living in the US, I was like, I am absolutely homeschooling. Like, there's no way that I trust the public schooling system to teach my child. Okay. So I had already planned on homeschooling from in the US. Here, in Southeast Asia, there are so many phenomenal schooling programs that I would probably have my child go into at a certain point, but I still do really believe in homeschooling. In addition to that, before you guys get on me about socialization and all those things, because that's always the number one question for some reason, okay? As if children don't socialize outside of school. There are so many programs over here. That's what I love with Southeast Asia. It is so family friendly. It is so children friendly. They have programs, all types of programs, from sports to dance to play groups. Whether your child is one, they're an infant, there are so many activities and play groups and things to do with your children. So even if your child is not in a traditional school, okay, and they're being homeschooled, you can have them go to different programs multiple days per week, whether that's 1 day per week, 2 days per week, whichever, and interact with other students, whether they're doing cooking classes, they're learning science stuff, they're learning music. There's so much that they can do from infancy. From infancy. Okay. And so that's our plan, to just incorporate different types of activities, play groups, learning co-ops and stuff like that while he's being homeschooled in an environment where it's very flexible. He doesn't feel like he needs to do this thing at an exact time or for this exact time. He has that freedom and flexibility, especially as we travel as well. We have a lot more flexibility. And the world being out there in the world is the best school, right? Your child can still learn how to read, how to write, how to count, just being out there in the world, and even learn beyond that, being out there. Okay, so that's one of the things that I love about the idea of homeschooling. Our baby boy is about to be 2. He's not yet quite 2, but we've already started like pretty much homeschooling. But let's talk about healthcare. Okay, healthcare is also, the United States healthcare is the most expensive healthcare in the world. Yet it ranks number 38 in outcomes. Number 38 in outcomes. Maternal death rates are rising, highest among developed nations. Maternal death rates. That's one of the reasons why I chose not to give birth in a hospital. I know that sometimes there may be emergencies and, maybe 100% necessary, but I was so committed to having a non-hospital birth, whether that was going to be home birth or a birth center birth that's more private. You just have your midwives and you set the tone, you set the scene. And that was the type of birth that I was able to have, and I'm grateful for, because yeah, the maternal death rate in the US it's really ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. So that's that. Then you have violence, you have polarization, and anxiety increasing. Anxiety increasing. Anxiety should not necessarily be a thing. If you're a child of God, right? God does not call us to be anxious, but boy, who in a place like America, it is so hard to not be anxious. Like, you have to be in your Bible like 24/7. Okay. Listen, that's my faith. That's my belief. You may be on here. You may not believe in the Bible. You may not believe in God. I respect all people, and that's my belief. Okay. That's my belief. Like, you have to be in the Bible 24/7 to not feel an ounce of anxiety in the US. Okay. And the culture of stress is normalized. It is normalized. When I tell you, every job I've been in, everywhere I have been, from a flight attendant to then the military to the corporate to whatever type of job, whether that was fast food. When as a teenager, I worked in fast food, my first jobs. Everybody was always stressed about something. Everybody was always complaining about something. I didn't understand why people complain so much and not do something about it. I couldn't understand that. Like, when I was a flight attendant, there were so many flight attendants that would complain all the time. And I'm just like, why are you here? Oh my gosh. Like, if it is that bad, why are you here? I could not understand it. I could not wrap my hands around it. Like, I understand that with every job, it comes with, hard times and different things like that. But I'm talking like constantly, like every day, like complaining about every little thing. And I wasn't perfect. There were things that I certainly complained about. Okay. There were a lot of gray areas, unpaid hours, a lot of different things. But it's not something that I made a habit to just express, openly at work every single day, all the time. And so the culture has become that, right? The culture is this stress culture. Stress is normalized, and people just think it's normal to live like that. It's normal to live in constant stress, constant stress. The people here, man, they're just chill. They're just chill from the vendors, the local vendors to the people who work in the fine dining restaurants and the spas and the hospitals. Their energy is just calm. The aura is just different. I'm like, what is this difference? Like, what is it, you know? Yeah, and so it's not normal. It's not normal to live in constant stress. And it's not the only option. All right? Is not the only option. And here's something most travelers, by the way, let's get back to the traveling part, right? Here's what most travelers and aspiring expats don't know is that shutdowns hit mobility too. So recent stories and impacts are that like the Americans were stranded in Europe due to passport delays. So yes, even as a traveler, want to consider this. Things are happening really fast. That's what I'm saying. If you can figure out how to get yourself stable elsewhere as quickly as possible, try to do that. Right? Because visa appointments are being canceled or frozen mid process. Like, imagine that, you guys. Imagine that. Airport wait times jumped, right? Because TSA staff were furloughed. Um, families are stuck abroad waiting on passport renewals that never processed. And then we're also talking about the FAA inspections and staffing, right? That slowed down, causing flight disruptions and all that. So when your movement depends on federal agency, a shutdown becomes such a cage, right? And even if you're overseas, it can technically like affect you. And so one of the smartest decisions I've ever made was setting up my life to be somewhat mobile eventually. So not tied down, okay, not fully dependent on the US, right? I didn't do it because I hate America, right? I did it because I love peace. I love freedom. I love being able to decide how my family lives instead of waiting for permission. I'm telling you guys right now, my nervous system is so calm. It's a lot different than what it used to be while living in the US. Okay. My stress levels as well. I told you guys earlier, I just don't worry about the same things that I used to worry about. And honestly, my family has experienced an upgrade, a lifestyle upgrade. Let's talk about that. And I can talk about like cost of living, access to childcare, food, safety, all of those things all day. We have experienced an upgrade in all of those areas. Now living abroad, I am breathing differently, right? I think differently. I parent somewhat differently. My parenting style is somewhat the same, but we have different like levels of support. Things that I worried about before that I don't necessarily worry about now. I create differently. My nervous system is regulated, and I want more people, especially women and families, to know they have options. If you're a woman, if you're a mother, a wife, a caretaker, and something in you has been whispering, I don't want to raise my family here long term. That is not fear. That is wisdom. Okay. You don't have to wait for a crisis to give yourself permission to choose a softer life. Let me repeat that. Okay. You don't have to wait for a crisis to give yourself permission to choose a softer life. You can create safety outside of chaos. You can create income outside of borders, and you can build a life where your children, where your family don't inherit your stress. Okay. Because I'm telling you, like, the culture in the US is such a stress culture, and it's easy to like pass that down, right? Your energy, it's easy to pick up on that energy, right? So shutdowns, pandemics, inflation, student loans, recessions, we never know what's coming next. But there is one thing though that you can control. You can control your ability to earn and live beyond one country. When your income is digital, when your lifestyle is mobile, when your peace isn't attached to a single system, nobody can shut you down. And here's another thing I want to say as well, because earlier I was talking about the whole military thing and the government being shut down and how it affects military families and stuff like that. Um, A lot of There are a lot of, veterans right now who are living abroad, who live outside of America. There are a lot of veterans, a lot more veterans than you know. Some of them are disabled veterans, and they get a paycheck for the rest of their lives, and they take that paycheck and they move abroad, okay? If you're a veteran or if you are a disabled veteran and you have the ability and access to move abroad, you can too. So, I wanted to share that because I feel like some people think that if they're on a certain living, like maybe Social Security, they can't take that because it's government income to live abroad. You actually can. You actually can take that income and move abroad. So I wanted to share that as well really quickly. Okay. Now I am putting together something for the people who are serious, right? Not just curious. You're not just curious, you are serious about moving abroad, right? I'm putting together a virtual workshop for women and families who want to create a clear path and a clear plan to relocate. Okay. You want a clear escape plan. You want online income options to replace or supplement your US income. You want guidance on visas, schooling, housing, safety, and healthcare abroad. Now, of course, I understand that visas and schools and stuff like that, they are all different based on the country that you are considering. But what we'll be doing is giving you guidance on how you can go about doing that, regardless of which country. But especially if you're looking to move to this region, whether that's Bali, Indonesia, Thailand, even Malaysia, we'll have some, resources for you there as well. So healthcare abroad, we'll talk to you on that as well. Regardless of the country that you're going to, you'll learn real stories as well from expats actually doing it and a strategy to do it without burning your life. Burning your life down first. If you want to be a part of that, you can join the wait list. The link is in the bio. And when it's ready, you will be the first to know. There'll either be a link that will take you directly to register to sign up for the workshop, or there will be a wait list. A wait list would mean that either it's not opened up yet or it's full and you can get on the wait list for the future one. So that means we see a demand for it and we know that you guys want more of, this type of workshop, okay? Because I really want to, you guys, the freedom, the peace that I feel, and the ease that I feel, and the flow that I feel, and the transformation that I'm feeling right now with not living in the US, I want to see more women and more families experience this. It is so life changing, so life changing. And that is why I feel so called to doing this, to create some type of like workshop to help more people leave the US, okay? And do it in a way that is not as stressful, okay? And do it in a way that where you're not losing a bunch of money and making, wrong decisions, okay? So, yeah, if you want more conversations about moving abroad, digital freedom, or creating a life of peace, subscribe. All right. Let me know how you felt about this video. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you are planning on moving abroad, where you're planning on moving to. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you've been feeling that pull, that inner knowing that it's time to build something different. Trust it, okay? Because the systems people depend on are cracking, as we can clearly see. And the people who will be okay are the ones who prepared before the cracks became collapse. It's a girl, Shai Bivya. It was an absolute pleasure. And I'll talk to you guys later. Be blessed. Bye.